Welcome to the podcast that questions everything, from conspiracies to philosophy, from science to religion. We will be looking at the construct of the illusion, and as always, we will question everything. Welcome, Everything's Illusion podcast, your host Rob Wallace, and again joined by regular contributor and fellow Everything's an Illusion podcaster, Greg Andrew.
Good afternoon, good evening, good morning and good night, people of Earth. How are we doing?
And this is a bit of an iconic show, Greg? This is the first time we're recording over Skype.
This is taking it to the next level of technology and viability of the World Wide Web and all its wonders.
We're only 20 years late.
Well, better late than never, to be honest. But that's us. I mean, that's how we have to walk it.
That's very true. So in this episode, we're going to, it's a Pondering Your Naval, so we're going to have short, sharp subjects. We're going to cover various different things with regards to news, conspiracies, technology, movies. So let's just jump straight in there.
Look at stuff.
And what's your first topic?
Well, I thought it maybe be appropriate for the time of year that it is, end of October, beginning of November, all over the world. We have been celebrating Back to the Future Day. For all the people who don't know what that is, it's the day Marty and Doc and Jennifer, let's not forget, went back to the future. 2015, October 21st. So I was just doing a wee bit of research online, having a look about looking at stuff to do with time travel. So we could maybe just ponder time travel for a wee bit, but the one thing that did catch my eye was an article and a couple of videos about John Titor. I don't know if you've heard of him, Rob, have you?
Nope.
So in 2000 and 2001, a mysterious poster came onto the internet claiming to be from the year 2036, and he was putting many posts up on forums and websites claiming to be a time traveller from that year. And he was giving up information about the future and about a nuclear war that was going to happen soon.
Nice.
So his main objective, a very Terminator Genesis, Terminator 2, was to come back to 1975 to get an old IBM machine, take it back to the future, because there he could
not buy it on eBay.
Not buy it on eBay. By that time, eBay was over, and he was going to, because it worked with some of the systems that were kicking about there at the time. So that was why he was sent back in time. I don't know why he turned up in 2001.
It sounds very much like the Terminator, kind of. Like sounds as if he's just watched an episode of Terminator and tried to steal most of the timeline. Yeah,
well, I think in some of his posts he was alluding to the fact he was just having a wee stopover in 2000 and 2001 for military reasons, who knows. But I just thought it was a nice wee story looking about the web, about kind of time travel stuff, and obviously that goes into apocalyptic predictions and stuff like that as well. But people should maybe look up the John Titor story, and because he started off as his nickname, well, his handle was Time Traveller Zero.
John Titor.
So check him out. And
there'll be a link in the notes, folks. So just go into the website, everythingsillusion.com, into the podcast, or if you're on iTunes or whatever, scroll down and there'll be a link. I did come across a couple of interesting time traveller kind of things in the past. There was one where a guy, he climbs under the kitchen sink to fix the pipes, if my memory serves me right, and he meets himself in a future self, and he takes out his phone and he films it, and he films himself interacting with himself in the future. But most of the comments with regards to it was just a clever video.
Yeah,
but it was obviously sold as like this guy went under the sink and somehow moved through a time portal.
I think when I was checking up on it over the week and reading about the John Titor story, like, he'd made predictions and stuff like that. So with a lot of these things, the predictions don't come true and stuff. So a lot of people then question what's happening. How did they put forward this information? And a lot of people were kind of answering back saying, well, if you're a time traveller just stopping off, you might have the odd wee cryptic message put on the internet to say he'd been there, whereas he'd been posting quite a bit. So I think the consensus on this story is quite a kind of cool basis for, as we said there, kind of Terminator film. But what are your thoughts on time travel, Rob? Just out of curiosity.
Well, time is an interesting thing in itself. It is obviously there's many different human ethnicities or histories, cultures, who have created different concepts or different constructs or different interpretations of time. So obviously there's natural cycles, there's different ways of measuring time, but time is definitely something that's extra physical, outside the physical, that we use as a tool to understand our reality and to put things in context in a kind of linear interpretation of reality. I think definitely when you take mind expanding drugs or meditation or any of these sort of things, time is not so linear. Time is kind of omnipresent. So in that sense, time travel I think can be possible, but through the mind.
Interesting.
And later on I've got that's one of the things I want to talk about, is trans-dimensional shifting,
cool.
Mind shifting. But just to go into the time travel, I came across on the Masato Toys. Now, Masato Toys is a forum online, fantastic forum full of interesting characters where you can get good debates about interesting things. And I came across a podcast featuring a guy called Gary the Mad Martian. Now straight away, with a name like Gary the Mad Martian, I was like, hey, this guy's pretty mad.
This guy's one to look out for. He's mad, he's possibly a Martian, and his name's Gary.
Aye, and he has this great picture of like the kind of Martian kind of brain inside with a big big joint, and he has it's like, listening to him on the podcast is like 100 miles an hour, full of energy, and he's telling this crazy whacked ass kind of story about the faces in Cydonia and Mars, and how it's almost like a kind of psyops kind of programming thing, which was sent to trigger him in the present so that he could work out some sort of code to I don't know, communicate with the aliens. But there's like some expert in the field who is a guy called Richard Hoyland, who's like the main guy for the faces on Mars, and he is like a shell. He's programmed specifically, this Gary the Mad Martian, over many years, but it's many years from the past into the future, time travelling for him to work out this code. And it all started with the Gary the Mad Martian getting and I'll put the link to his website. He got a DVD through the post, an anonymous DVD, and he put it in his computer and he played it, and it was an episode, a TV series called UFO Diaries. And then he watched it, and in that UFO Diaries episode there was a face, but it was a different face from the one that they show you, from the classic images of the face of Mars. So he started looking through the Viking Voyager footage and photographs, and couldn't find the face that was in this random anonymous documentary that was posted through his door. And then it started him asking all these questions that led him on this kind of crazy journey where he reckons he is some sort of magical piece to the puzzle to enlightening human beings about the alien presence on Mars, that's some sort of time loop coded and it's fucking whacked, and I was listening intently for like 2 hours to this guy rant and swear and get into this. So I'll put a link up to that.
Well,
Gary the Mad Martian.
I look forward to listening to Gary the Mad Martian. My first point of order in Gary the Mad Martian would be the great thinkers of our time, the great world leaders, Winston Churchill, Gandhi, I don't know.
Winston Churchill? Are you serious?
Galileo. I'm just saying these big names.
All right. I thought
Winston
you said great
Gandhi. These people have kind of esteem. If Winston Churchill was maybe called Winnie the Bonkers Bloke, it might not have done so well in the Second World War. So maybe the Mad Martian changed his name to some. But unless that is his name.
I bet that's true. But another thing there, see, you said Mahatma Gandhi. Now, Mahatma Gandhi went to South Africa, and Mahatma Gandhi stood with the British Empire in South Africa and was totally against blacks. He seen them as lower than him. So, didn't
even wear real shoes.
Exactly, but the historical thing is he's this great guy, but when in fact in a different culture for India, he's seen the Indians, Aryans and Caucasians as being of a same ethnic group branch, whereas the blacks were below him. And because a part of history that folk don't like to talk about when they talk about Mahatma Gandhi. Right, so what's your next...
Well, that was me in the time travel. I thought we'd maybe hand over to you for the next one, so if that's okay. Tennis match it back and forth.
I like it. The first one I'm going to bring up is I watched the documentary called Billions and Change. Now I put it up on the Facebook page, but it's the guy. He created it's called 5 Hour Shot in America. It's a sort of like Red Bull.
Is that the wee guy that comes up on YouTube at the moment? He's doing a big YouTube push. You might not recognise me, but I'm the guy. Then you click off after skipping 5 seconds.
Oh, right. Brilliant. So you should watch the video. It's called Billions and Change. So basically he made billions of dollars, and then he asked himself, like, basically I was a poor guy, I was a monk. He was a monk in India. He's a poor American Indian. He's now worth billions. He says, what am I going to do? I need to do something with this money. He says, I'm going to change the world. So how do I change the world? Well, most of the world, he says, what's his stats? His stats are something like, you have electricity, all the rest of it. 7 billion people. 5 billion of the 7 billion either don't have electricity or only get 3 hours a day. So electricity is an enabler as well. So once you get electricity, then you can start to communicate, you can get online, you can grow food, you can light your home, so you can read. There's so many different things that enables you to do. So he says electricity. The next one is drinking water. So he creates a plan to provide drinking water, and the third one was health. So he uses his money and gets these experts in each of the industries and basically says to them, here's a big wad of cash, go and kit yourself out with the kind of workshop you need to get this shit done. Like, we're not talking about shipping it after here and here, that you can get it done, you can make it. And it's like a toy factory for the folk he employed. Like one of the guys he employs, he made a pogo stick out of a nail gun. Like tinkerers, folk who are in the garage and are working on projects, engineers,
scrap heat challenge guys.
Aye, and with this core concept of we're going to make a real change to the world. And you know, when a guy's serious, I'll not tell you what the kind of technologies, but in one of the technologies he creates a almost 0 point energy, but continuously free energy once you put the things in place. And he shipped off and created a company in Singapore, so that the rights and the legal rights and all that sort of stuff, and intellectual property, will be secure. You know, that's how serious he is about what he's doing. He's I thought the whole premise of the guy, alright, he's selling a shit fucking energy drink that's probably not very good for people in the first place, but with the cash he's come up with some genuine interesting, viable things to help the mass majority, 5/7 of the world, that don't have electricity, that have poor drinking water, that have health problems. So billions and change it's called. There'll be a link worth a watch.
Good on him. I mean, I think getting onto that point, this man is doing the work, let's be honest, could easily be done by governments and the huge organisations that run the world secretly, Illuminati. But I'm being facetious there, and kind of sarcastic.
So true.
But
true.
you know, I'm sure at some point we will go into a very large, long programme about these societies. We've spoken about it before, but on a simpler scale, governments have money. Money is a construct that we have created ourselves. It's just like time. So I think this guy's doing a great thing, but other people could be doing greater things, I think. Easily. Bad Ricket. That's me, on my high horse. Let's get back down.
No, it's perfectly true. It's why does it take one eccentric billionaire who makes loads of cash in a very short amount of time to say, look, this world's fucked, we really need to be, because it just shows you the current system, the current construct.
It just shows you a man who's got, as you say, a billionaire, and he's saying, oh, I've got $1 billion, whatever, I'm going to invest this X amount of this money into this stuff. Well, who needs $1 billion? Nobody. Right. It's good press as Bill Gates gets for all his charity work. If he had $10 million, right, and that was what he could live on for the rest of his life, what about all the rest of the money he's got? Come on, Bill. Fuck's sake. You know what I mean? It's a ridiculous concept.
Well, that's the thing. Again, like somebody like Bill Gates kind of cash. Why has he not done some real positive things? Look at the impact he made in the world with software, etc. Yet he's never made any kind of near that kind of impact since. With that kind of cash, there's loads of technology out there, but the huge corporations, etc., that lobby.
That's true.
For the protection of their right to abuse the people and the planet. That's unfortunate, but that's the system that we operate in.
As Renton said in Trainspotting, it's a shite state of affairs, Tommy. We're ruled by a feet arseholes. Cool, man. So that sounds good. That's the 5-hour shot guy.
I said that's got billions and change. So I'll just
change.
I've hit the ball back over.
Excellent. I will grab it with my racket. So there's a couple of things. Also, I think it was this week or the week before, there was some new batch of WikiLeaks stuff released, some documents.
Yep.
So I kind of think, obviously with all these WikiLeaks that leak out, or the document dumps that they do, you could sift through them for days probably. But I mean, Walking Dead was on, so there's no time to go through all the important stuff in the world. But I think one of the big things that comes out of that just kind of shows up that the wave of hope and the wave of hope for change that the Obama administration came under. There's stuff like that was coming out through these leaks that top advisors, I think it was President for Homeland Security, Counter-Terrorism guy, I think Brennan, he was the director of the CIA. He worked for the CIA up to a certain point, and then he went into private contracting and had his own wee company that did all these programming stuff and did counter-terrorism stuff on the side that the government had to pay for. And who got all the contracts? Oh, they did. Well, that seems a bit weird. Oh, that's right, he donated millions of pounds to Barack Obama's campaign and then was hired as the kind of security advisor to the administration. I'm thinking, I mean, that's just... I think after 8 years of Obama and he's continued the Nobel Peace Prize and winning of Barack Obama, just the sheer blatant brokenness of politics throughout the world, especially the Western world, where it's just to say it doesn't matter if it's Tories or Labour or SNP. There is a kind of a brokenness to it, and democracy's not working. So what's to be done? I mean, but I was just saying, through that WikiLeaks dump this week, last 2 weeks, this information comes out about who's been given contracts, who's been doing secret deals behind the backs to get money and power and stuff like that. It's very depressing. It
is very depressing, but it shows you that, you know, in a term of say 4 years, not a lot can happen, because these big corporations have long-term strategies.
I think the long-term strategy in America has been in place since 1958.
Yeah, so whatever red or blue, the two-party system, and the same in the UK, it's kind of a two-party system. You know, this idea of, if it's not them, it'll be them that's in, and the corporation has a strategy for each of them. Yeah. The media has a strategy to deal with each of them, to change the... and I had a few...
choice picks from the WikiLeaks?
No, but I tend to see quite a lot of people online, and because Scotland's quite politicised at the minute with obviously nationalist, or what they call nationalist politics by the mainstream news, but again, people interested in independence versus people who are interested in
keeping the union,
but kind of the unionist or socialist Labour kind of party politics. But one of my arguments has always been to the people who have kind of socialist Labour party politics is the system is so old, so ingrained, and we've seen for 300 years that it's very near impossible now to get the left in, that you really need to rip up the system for a chance of implementing something new that's only going to come through epic change, that you're going to be able to have a very left or almost utopian left ideology actually implanted, because the current system, it's so ingrained, it's so deeply in the two-party kind of thing that it would never happen. You know, you get these unelected peers recently we've seen.
That's what I was just about to say, yeah. I mean, you're just about to say, so I didn't interrupt you, but we sit. I've been a big person who's always said the House of Lords is fucking the boys' club. It should be scrapped. It is undemocratic. Nobody votes these people in. They buy their peerships. The party in power place these peers in to kind of make their House of Lords stronger, and then it takes a generation and a generation to get rid of these people because they live to their 95, because they're the richest people, so they get the best healthcare, and they're in there and they'll make decisions. But it took this week for them to stop a terrible, terrible Tory policy. And you're thinking, you can't win. You know what I mean?
Well, that's it. I think they have stopped it, but
they stopped it to a degree, because
it still has a lot of negative connotations for poor folk, because it's going to take, again, they have to re-debate it, all that sort of stuff, and in the transition period they've obviously they fall back.
Bless you.
Pardon me. But it's an interesting system that we have, so we have we elect people, and then they represent us, and then these unelected old people decide.
Not even old people. That lassie with the bras, she can't be that old. She must be, what, 50. A couple of years older than us. She must be in her early 40s. I mean, that's the thing. As you say, these unelected people come in. You look at it this way, as a nation, who I feel I was really hoping for independence. So I look at the situation as we voted in a very big majority of SNP. We've got a majority of SNP, Scottish Parliament. We voted in 50 out of 51 SNP, so we never voted for any of this Tory stuff. Then they rushed through Parliament because they've got a majority through England and Wales. So technically that's democracy in place, but for our country it's not at all. And then it goes into the House of Lords and they stop it, which is a good thing, I think, because it's a fucking absolute disgraceful policy, and it's picking on the poor people and giving their rich friends a slap in the back and the tax breaks they need. And then, I don't know.
But it's the system, and this is...
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you.
The system will not change, and this is the thing for me, where a lot of people have quite good politics, or politics that I can agree with, and they're fighting within the system. And I reckon the system has to be ripped up, i.e. independence, so that a new system can be attempted, or a new system can be at least fought to be implemented, as the new system is built, you know.
Well, if you look at Labour Party, their argument for keeping the union together was very kind of old school. They're trying to portray it as kind of old school socialism. It's like all the workers of the world together, so why break up workers and break up unions and break up partnerships and stuff like that?
Yeah, I agree with that, you know.
Totally, but that's fucked. That's broken. That's, at the moment, as far as I see, beyond repair. What it needs is tearing down at the foundations and built back up, and I think we had the best chance of any Western civilization over the last 100 years to get that in place, and through, in my opinion, people playing on folks' fears and corporations, and something that's meant to be as partial as the BBC taking sides, swung that vote to vote. And see, if you think about it, people saying it was a 10% gap. See, the year before, the polls weren't even that close. It was like 30% to 70% no. That was the fact that it got that close, and a week before was actually in favour of independence through the polling system, however the hell that works. It's just the way it was, but we kind of sometimes harken back to that quite a bit in this podcast, so we'll try and. But as I say, so WikiLeaks, that's what I'm talking about.
So the other side of the WikiLeaks kind of idea is, and the conspiracy idea is WikiLeaks and people like who's the guy who's in Russia?
Justin Farage. No. Snowden.
Snowden. Are these like CIA plants? Are they? Because one of the biggest things about a government, or a secret government that controls the population through very sophisticated propaganda, mind control, and we see that in the media, etc., is to control the counterculture as well. And one of the first examples we've seen of this supposedly was during the Beatles. And various like the Beatles got so big, so powerful, and they broadcast an idea of love, of community, of communication, and you can't have common folk with having that amount of power. So from then on, the music industry really got controlled about what messages could be broadcast to the mass population, etc., etc. And all the various mass communication platforms, one by one, are being shut down. Obviously, we're broadcasting to the world, so it's still, there is a live channel, but the restrictions, and I won't even go into the conspiracy of fall, because you know, is
that for another podcast?
That's for another podcast, but if you're out there in podcast land, you can have a check that. But the idea, the counter argument to WikiLeaks and Edward Snowden and Chelsea Manning is, and it even brings in Putin, is that these are all a part of a long game, chess game, to direct and control the propaganda for an upcoming war where Russia is forced to fight with China, and then America goes in and is like the second wave against China, because the reality is, when Japan entered China in the Second World War, they killed over 1 million people, tragic kind of loss of life, but they never made a dent. And the fact of the matter is, China is going to rule the world, but the only country that can actually do anything about it, in terms of it also has a mass of people, it also has kind of land and technology, would be to get Russia to fight China, and then a second wave of the US coming in. I'll put a video up of a crazy Russian guy who's not actually crazy, but he explains this full kind of chess kind of thing about America's game and strategy, the long game. It's very interesting.
So kind of simplifying that, they're kind of egging Russia on to fight China, and if that goes badly for Russia, the Americans will step in on the Russian side to defeat China.
No,
just
it's not that it's going to go wrong for Russia, but it's about utilising the land.
Yeah,
because it has to be close to China. So Russia obviously has the land, and it also have the ground troops, because anybody who attacks China will get bogged down in a ground war.
Yeah,
and they've got that
big
standing army.
Yeah.
And they've got a big wall, did you say?
Aye. That was my wee joke there, my wee Chinese joke. But
I've got some good facts about the Great Wall of China. They built a kilometre a day, which is astounding. And if you then unwrap all of the different pieces of the Great Wall of China, there's actually many different walls that kind of intersect. It would actually ground the entire world. I apologise for the coughing. Oofed.
I'm quite glad I'm doing this through Skype now. I'm not getting your lurgy, unless you're like, this could be patient zero. It's like 12 Monkeys time travel. They'll come back and find this podcast, the podcast where Rob started coughing and killed 70 billion people about this. 70 billion.
70.
That's a lot.
That must be in the future then.
That is the future. It's time travel is too weird. I can't get it in my mind. There's 70 billion, 70 billion. But I mean, just coming back to that point about America and Russia and China, I think the great man himself, we were just talking about the Beatles there, John Lennon, you remember he said society is run by insane people for insane objectives. I mean, what is it? I don't understand. Well, it's corporations that rule the world. It doesn't matter about countries anymore. In my opinion, to me, that this kind of war plan is just a kind of smoke screen for something maybe even bigger than that, if you know what I mean. Because what does China? I mean, I don't understand how they think China's going to rule the world. They already have everybody's money. All the shite we've got off eBay comes for there. We all have Chinese food at the weekend. Is it just they've got community spell Chinese with funny letters?
Well, the Russian guy in the video that I'll post up, and that'll be in the Everything Illusion kind of notes for this. He talks about a difference in culture. He talks about Anglo-Saxons. He says, look at the Russians, explain to me where in history where we have invaded someone and then took to them diseased, smallpox-ridden blankets to wipe them out. You know, he says it's not a Russian thing. We have a different mindset. We'll know that kind of orientated, and then he starts looking at Anglo-Saxon history and the sort of wars that we've waged, and he talks about, well, again, the whole purpose of kind of empires that we have created is to wipe out everybody that's a competition. We don't just go in there and beat people. We wipe them out, and then we go to the next one and wipe them out. It's almost as if we're addicted to that. Oh, you challenge us, we'll kill everybody. And we have that kind of continuous empire. And the British Empire, 2/3 of the world. We don't want to ever give that up. That kind of huge, and the American Empire's doing the same. It wants no competition.
Yeah.
Again, obviously the main competition in reality is the China. China in reality for the last 2,000 years, every single century, 18 of the 20 centuries, China has been the kind of production, cultural, engineering, etc. Master of the world, and it's only the last 200 that they really haven't. And
now they're getting back on top.
Yep, they're culture, their engineering, their science. You know, back in the day, I'd say 18 of the last 20 centuries, the compass. They invented pasta. Man, let's get that dialed. They invented pasta and fireworks and wheelbarrow and various other fantastic things.
I remember watching a documentary once about the great Chinese emperors and stuff, and it said that because at the time and the way communication and people travelled about the world, they ruled such a large expanse that in European society it was all full of very small principalities. So, like, if you imagine Germany right now, in say 1700, Germany never existed. It was like the Principality of Munich and Bavaria and Prussia and all these. They were like small city-states, the way the Vatican City is at the moment.
Yep.
And this is the competition between all these city-states. Built, I mean, they ended up taking over, as you were just saying, the last 200, 300 years. That competition between the city-states to go out and explore and go to America and create wee colonies there, and Spain went down to South America and Africa. They built up this entire empire from this competition that wasn't in China at the time because it was a giant empire, but the communication means between it was very primitive for the time. They didn't have email or anything like that.
China also had all that kind of competition as well. You know, there is something like over 80 different ethnic groups within China, and even if you're just watching really bad kung fu movies, you can see the
which you have many times.
Oh, you kind of beat cheesy kung fu movies, but I think they had the same. You know, an interesting fact about China is they only have one time zone. So if you're in the very far east or the very far west, it's the same time. When you think about the size of the landmass,
so screw you, GMT.
Yeah, I remember that from. I remember the Casio World Time watches that you got.
Yeah.
I remember getting one when I was about 12, 13, 14 or something. It was like my most prized possession. And it showed you the timelines over the map, like in a really bad digital graphic. And
you only seen that at the time, though. You're like, wow,
it was off the charts. It was off the charts. You could keep your calculator watch, you cunt. I've got a world time one.
Found you, Mark Lawley. Apologies, Mark, if you're listening, but you did have a calculator.
But it's just the one time zone which I always found absolutely fascinating about.
Well, that can maybe bring us on to as we just ponder on Naval here. We did change the clocks this week, and there was a big piece about should we be changing the clocks this week. If you don't know, if you're from Guatemala and you don't know about this, and this was British summertime, when it British winter time, so our clocks went back an hour. I don't know, what's your feelings on the clocks going back, Rob?
Well,
he asked.
I'm originally, it's something to do with the fact that the northern part of the British Isles gets less light, so that extra hour allows more light in the day or something, or for school kids or workers.
It was brought in during the First World War. If memory serves me, I think it was like 1916, so it was something to do with war production and something to do, I think, getting the gather light. I think they also used to say it was because of farmers. It was like a big reason. I remember at school, sort of helpful. But if you're a cow, you wake up, when you wake up being a cow, you don't know, you're not like, oh, Farmer Jones is having an extra on his bed today, that's a bonus, I'll just sleep here in this hay for a wee bit longer. But
it just sort of got you after, but it just kind of shows you the artificial nature of time. Our very first, the fact that we can just shift hours left and right, you know.
I mean, that's the thing, as you say, artificial time, it's like you're moving and pointing a clock backwards and forwards. So technically this week we have all time travelled. Maybe not physically, but
technically we're all travelling in time.
We're all
continuously.
But I just as we're talking about time zones there, I thought that'd be interesting. I mean, I think if you did stop it, would it make much of a difference? I don't know about you, but I've felt a bit kind of a kilter this week. It does it. I don't know. It might just be my perceptions, but I think it could be a perception of time that you get this weird extra hour in bed that we call it, and then for the rest of the week, your body's trying to kind of. There's maybe a wee chemical imbalance or something, I don't know, but...
Or maybe it's actually designed by some clever people to keep the populace, to take them out of kilter, to disrupt them.
Could be. But as I say, I'm sure it was a World War. And I think America do it as well. I think they do a kind of daylight saving hour thing for the year. I don't know when that would be, though. Need to check that out. But, yeah, cool.
So one of the next things I've got is movie, just very, very short. Southpaw, Pish, watch Rocky. That's all I've got to say.
Is that the one with Jake Gyllenhaal?
Yes, horrendous. And the guy's not even a Southpaw. He's an Orthodox. What?
Was that your main gripe with the movie? You're like, oh, hey.
No, the main gripe was it was just a bad Rocky film. It was like they tried to merge 2 or 3 of the Rocky films. They done it not very good. The guy was supposedly a light heavyweight champion of the world, and he was Pish, and then he gets trained by kind of a wee guy, shows him how to box, and right, fair dues, the guy showed you how to box, but again, half an hour earlier in the film you were the light heavyweight champion of the world, again,
must have known a wee bit about boxing.
Aye, but no, he was just horrendous, and you're saying to yourself, anyway, I gave this too much airtime. It was Pish, watch Rocky. What's your movie trailer? Movie?
I think there could only be one trailer of this week, of this month, of this year, of this millennium so far. StarWars. What did you think?
Well, I'll let you say what you thought first.
You think so? Because this is another hour podcast. You're just about to get here. I thought it was, apart from one wee bit with the kind of font on This Christmas, which kind of annoyed me, because it wasn't really like a Star Wars font. It was a kind of Empire-y kind of. It just didn't feel right in editing. But I thought it was absolutely amazing. I'm telling you right now, I'm going to bet my house this is going to be the biggest movie of all time. It's going to smack Avatar in the arse and just plummet to £1 billion in the first week. $1 billion, because there's, apart from the visuals, and it looks like 1977 Star Wars universe of really, with the kind of special effects and the practical special effects they went for, looks amazing. They never gave any of the story away. It's just visuals for a wee bit, gives you a wee hint of maybe what's happening. There's a bit, I'm not going to lie to you, where the Millennium Falcon, if you've not seen the Star Wars trailer, then just go and see it right now and watch it 10 times and come back.
I'll be on the page, so
yeah, I'll be on the page, because they really need the advertising, they're really hard up. But there's a bit where the Millennium Falcon has been chased by TIE fighters, and it cuts from one bit into this scene and it just rushes by, and the bars of music from Empire Strikes Back for the very last scene where Luke and Leia, he's just his hand cut off and it's that stringy kind of, I'm telling you, I was welling up. I'm no lie, I've had the heart, was welling up thinking, that's amazing. That's brilliant.
Just for the fans listening, the folks listening, I don't know if these are fans, but the people listening, you might notice that Greg's actually quite a big Star Wars fan. I would say a lot. The Star Wars is obviously an iconic film, and there is people who enjoy the films, and then there's fans, and then there's people that like the last few beats of the the font. Definitely in that category of ultra fan.
I don't know, but yeah, I'm welling up a bit. I just thought that's beautiful. That's brilliant. I cannot wait. I think I'm going to see it about 5 times in the cinema.
So I have a couple of questions.
Yes.
Episode 1.
Yep.
So, not
The
episode
Phantom
4.
Menace.
Yeah, as again, some people maybe go, episode 1, what's that like?
These people are idiots.
Aye. So, episode 1, when it came out and they brought the kind of Jabba the Hutt and the digital effects, and the kind of almost the first. Obviously, that was Lucasfilms. This is still Lucasfilms, but Lucasfilms is Disney. But it was the first Lucasfilms that actually tried the Disney market, if you like. They were playing for a younger clientele. Their advert or their first trailers were epic, and they were
the first trailer for Phantom Menace is probably one of the best.
But
the teaser trailer, it's the one where
then the movie was just crap. That's my point.
I'm not going to be an apologist for the first 3, the prequels, but I won't say this about Phantom Menace. The teaser trailer is one of the best trailers you'll see. It's the one with Darth Vader's breath.
Yep.
Just him breathing, and it just shows you kind of shots. It does have many flaws, the Phantom Menace, but the lightsaber battle at the end is fucking epic. It is class. And Ewan McGregor is a genius in it.
Oh, he's Scottish.
I didn't want to say it, but I mean the other thing.
Sorry, I just keep on talking.
You wanted to go through all the Star Wars ones and mock them? No. Just going to mock Phantom Menace?
No. The other thing in the trailer for the new...
Yeah, the new one?
The new one is...
The Force Awakens.
There seems to be, and if you could maybe clarify this for me, obviously... Errol Jones done the voice for Darth Vader because the actor who played him,
David Prowse,
was a white guy, and when his voice came through with the big black figure,
it's a white guy from Cornwall. With a big Cornish accent. My love, all that.
Down to the tractor.
Down to the tractor, my dear. That kind of voice. Hey, Obi-Wan, it's been a while.
So his voice, it never really had the epicness of Darth Vader, and obviously they got big Errol Jones in, who iconically was in the best film ever, Conan the Barbarian. I
thought you were going to say Lion King there for a
No.
I just I remembered.
Conan
He's
the
a
Barbarian.
giant snake.
Yep. So there is another Sith Lord that has a black kind of well, it kind of looks like that, and you kind of hear his voice.
Yes.
But it sounds like a fledgling white man's voice, and there has been a lot of things online with regards to kind of how can they basically play a big black character, even though it's a costume and a suit, etc., having a white man's voice.
Well, I think you're referring to Kylo Ren, who's the guy with the mask, and he's got the lightsaber with the cool hilt thing that I really like. He's got the kind of the wee lightsabers that's stuck at the bottom. You know what a hilt is, Rob, you're not an idiot.
Yep.
So he is played by an actor whose name escapes me at this moment, but he is a white dude, let's be honest. He's in the programme Girls. I don't know if you watched that. I don't know if that's up your street, but his...
Have you just moved a bit closer?
I just jumped in there. I'm getting too excited about Star Wars. But here, I don't think he's using... I think he's got breathing apparatus. I think that's just like a mask. So it's his voice they're using. Whereas, remember, Darth Vader was burnt to a crisp on the volcano planet, and
I know,
but
so
I think
it's an almost it is iconic. You know, the Errol Jones's kind of voice, like a big deep baritone with it. I just mean like a big deep baritone kind of voice with a Sith, or with a kind of like a powerful Lord of Darkness.
I think they might. I mean, obviously we don't know. We're just speculating at the moment. But I think Kylo Ren might be not a full Sith, but might be like a kind of training to be a Sith. That's why he's talking about continuing the mission and stuff like that. That's my thoughts on him.
Where is Luke in the trailer?
That's the point. I think if you and remember the first one. Who did Luke go and meet? Who did he meet? Who taught him the ways of the Force? Obi-Wan Kenobi and Mark Hamill. Mark Hamill is now the exact same age as Alec Guinness was when he made 1977 Star Wars. So I think he's hiding it. Jedi Temple, talking to Blue Ghosts, trying to build up the Force, trying to finish his training and stuff like that. 'Cause remember, his training was late. I think he's going to be a surprise element, even though, I mean, Mark Hamill's name's on all the posters. My one fear, although I think it's been eradicated a wee bit by my research that I've done online, is you see the girl, Rey, she's crying over her body. Yep. My fear was that Luke Skywalker in the first episode, well, episode 7, at some point would be sacrificed. He would sacrifice himself and become a blue ghost, but I don't think it is him anymore. So I think he's going to be in this a wee bit, but then episode 8, the Force will have been awoken in this episode. Then in episode 8, the Republic will come to fruition, because it does seem like the Empire, after the Death Star was destroyed, Vader and Emperor died at the end of Return of the Jedi. If you remember the special edition cut, there was like big celebrations at the end. The Ewoks were dancing and all that stuff. But I think the Emperor was being such a big corporate entity that it was, still controlled a lot of the galaxy, and has built its way back up. And now the idea of Luke and the Jedis and the Battle of Endor is kind of myth. It's kind of talked about. That's what Han Solo talks about in the trailer. So that's what I think. But I think Luke will be in at a wee bit. They'll go and find him. And then in the next one, he'll be in it quite a lot.
I like it.
Greg's thoughts on Star Wars.
So if you're a big Star Wars fan, you just get I'm a Star Wars fan. I get a great insight there, so thank you for that.
I could be totally wrong.
No, you probably are. Let's get
Why change the habit of a lifetime?
But that's the beautiful thing about teaser trailers, and they know that there's folk like yourself out there that are going to be, looking at every frame for some information, looking at the fonts, looking at listening to the sounds. It's such a big universe in terms of the Star Wars franchise, and there's.
Oh, I can't wait! IMAX 3D, brilliant.
Okay, so we'll go for. I've got one last thing in my.
Last thing after this, but if you can go with yours, dude, then mine's is just a wee quickie.
So that biofeedback and transdimensional shifting.
Sorry, this is your small one.
Aye. So basically, I think you posted up a video on the Facebook page, Robert Anton Wilson, Intelligence Squared.
I did, yes.
So Robert Anton Wilson, for anybody who doesn't know, he was a quantum psychologist. He was an electrical engineer and a PhD in psychology, and he wrote the Illuminatus trilogy. He wrote Prometheus Rising and very many other books. He's a fantastic author. Comedian, and if you really want your mind blown wide open, watch any of his videos, listen to any of the audio, read any of his books. The guy was a fucking genius, and I'm a big fan. Robert Anton Wilson, been reading this stuff for a good period of time, and there was a bit at the end of that I Squared video where he talked about the kind of acceleration of kind of like what took a yogi doing yoga to do in 10 years. Now with biofeedback, equipment monitoring the actual frequencies of the brain and engaging in it directly, you can program your mind directly and get the kind of same results, but within 4 weeks of what it would have took kind of a guy in a forest in India 2,000 years ago. 10 years today you can do in 4 weeks. And I'm a user of the binaural beats, kind of this whole idea of two different frequencies and stereo headphones, and you listen to it, binaural beats, and they're just a wee bit out of phase, and they put in the frequencies, and it shows a like shitty whale music and stuff, but it works. You just sit there and boom, you're in the zone, you're vibrating, you're in that zone. So like biofeedback, I had a wee look about, and there's quite a lot of these kind of like NeuroSky and biofeedback machines that have sensors that you shove on your nut, with a USB that you plug into the computer, a bit of software, and you can directly, like, you can control stupid wee games and like can play games and stuff. But there's loads of software to like improve your ability to focus, to concentrate, to change your frequencies, to monitor your frequencies too, and that is definitely the future. And then this idea of when you master how your brain emits and how your mind emits, the whole idea going back to the ancient texts of where yogis would go, and Tibetan Buddhism, the trans-dimensional mental mind shifting into other spaces, other zones, and I think that's where we'll really find aliens, cool. Different beings beyond our physical way of interpreting the world, and inner trans-dimensional shifting. Right, so I'll just stop there because that is a huge topic. Right, I'll ping the ball back over the net.
I think that's something we'll maybe have to come back to, because we've had many a conversation about trans-dimensional beings. Some of them get very comic, but some of them end up in film scripts and treatments for films and stuff like that. So I think we'll definitely come back to that at some point.
Another way of saying that could be angels, demons, whatever.
Yep, I think that's a great one. So last thing, just before we kind of head off into the sunset, would be I have been listening almost religiously for the last 2 weeks on my iPod. Not even an iPod, on my phone, on my radio station. I've been listening to podcasts, but apart from that, listening to some music. And the music I've been listening to is Pink Floyd's The Wall.
Oof.
Now, I know you're a big fan of this. You went and saw the concert a couple of years ago.
Roger Water in The Wall, yeah.
Although you did go the wrong night.
Yep.
Because if memory serves me right, the night after was the night Dave Gilmour and Nick Mason joined them on stage for a wee.
Yes, I hear you, yeah.
But I'd never get into the Pink Floyd till late 20s, and then I kind of got all their albums and that now, but I hadn't really listened to The Wall. Everybody knows All in All, It's Just Another Brick in the Wall, and Comfortably Numb. I think they're like the two big tracks on it. But as a piece of art, as a piece of music, and as a political statement, I think if you haven't listened to The Wall and you're out there listening to this, you really should go and listen to it. And if you haven't listened to The Wall in a wee while, I think you should revisit it and see how Roger Waters and the rest of Pink Floyd took those 80s politics and a view of society then that's still very relevant today. I think it's a great album. There's some great tracks on it that aren't just those two big ones, and it's it has been making me think about a few things. I think it's a great album, so I would just like to put that out there, a wee challenge to the people listening. If you haven't listened to Pink Floyd's The Wall, I'm going to assume it might well be on YouTube. You could probably...
I'll put a link up to it.
It's a great... I mean, I don't know your opinions on The Wall, to be honest, but I know you've been saw the live show and you're a big fan of it, but that was just kind of what I've been feeling about it. You know what I mean? Listening to it again, revisiting it, and actually listening to it, if you know what I mean.
Are you clicking away like a madman?
A wee bit, aye.
So, that Pink Floyd, I think, absolutely fantastic. Just the music, the melodies, all that kind of stuff, and obviously the messages that they put across. And I think we would just leave it there, because I think Pink Floyd...
Run out of time?
No run out of time, but Pink Floyd's as deep as and it's something that people should sit back and put The Wall on and experience, you know, like it's a big part of my childhood as well, because my dad was right into Pink Floyd and putting that various albums on and, you know, bellowing it through the big speakers and that again. I'm
just thinking about stuff like, if you listen to side 3 and you're listening to the kind of things, a whole rock opera, like stuff like Vera and Bring the Boys Back Home, Leaving It to Comfortably Numb. It's a very kind of harking back to Second World War sentiments, but a kind of cynicism about the whole thing, and about current wars, which would have been back in the day, like the escalation of the Falklands and Vietnam and all these kind of ideas. I think it's just a great, as you say, everybody should go away, put the wall on, get the headphones on, and listen to an album the way it's meant to be listened.
Loud.
Loud, in your ears, on your bed, no skipping through tracks that you don't like, just listen to it as a whole, which I've been doing. I think everybody should.
I think that's an interesting point. I was watching something recently. Who was the artist? Some artist.
Let's just say Coldplay.
No, it was Fat Mike from NoFX, famous punk rock band.
Right.
And he was talking about his daughter and going onto YouTube and listening to a track. And he was like, "What's the album called?" And she was like, "The album." And it's like, "Yeah." Again, you're talking about some band, the track. She's like, No, it's just the track. And he's like, kids just don't get it, that you've got to listen to the whole album, that an album has a theme. And artists like him, even a punk rocker, is putting a kind of story or weaving something through kind of number of songs with album art, with a whole kind, because nowadays you listen to one song, you buy a single, or you go into YouTube or Spotify or whatever, and you listen to one song. And I think that was really good what you said there, like albums like Pink Floyd, if there's any young people listening, you don't just listen to one song. You put
don't listen to Brick in the Wall, don't listen to...
You put it on at the first track and listen to the whole thing and enjoy it as an entirety.
Get in the flesh on. Get in the flesh on and finish outside the wall, definitely. But I think the kind of flip side of that is, it's a kind of circular way music's went. I mean, in the 50s and early 60s, it was all about the single. And then it became about the album. And I think when we were talking earlier on about the oppression after 67, 68 with the Beatles movement and stuff like that, of kind of music, this might be the final end of it. You don't listen to concept albums, you don't listen to political statement albums, you just listen to Adele's latest song. You don't listen to the album.
Personally, I do, but...
You love Adele though, that's the thing.
No, I like political
yeah. But
music.
Definitely listen to The Wall.
Excellent. I think if we just stop there, was a fantastic podcast that sums up a whole wonderment of random collective thoughts.
I think so, definitely.
So, to you good people listening in podcast land, thanks very much. Check out our sponsors. Everything Illusion podcast has some sponsors: Health Made Simple, fantastic health book, The Energetic Mind, which is fantastic art, and Rob Wallace Media, who create fantastic media. Thank you very much, Greg.
No problem, sir. Thanks for having me.
Greg Andrew. You can check out Greg's stuff or follow him on Twitter at
B for the CP, which is a very Scottish thing I've kind of realised, so it's BFAETHECP.
Excellent, and always some good witty tweets from...
Well, it's X Factor season now, Rob, so it's time for my weekly X Factor updates.
Excellent. Well, thanks very much. Thanks for listening, and see you next time.
Goodbye.
Cheers. Everything is an Illusion is brought to you by RobWallaceMedia.com, award-winning media. TheEnergeticMind.com, inspirational, motivational and thought-provoking art. And Health Made Simple. Buy today, change your life forever. healthmadesimple.info. Thank you, and remember, question everything.